Kia ora, everyone. Welcome along to this week's group coaching call. Today is a bit more unstructured than normal. I don't have a topic I'm going to present, but it's an open ask me anything type scenario in terms of how your training's going, events about anything. Just got a message from Jake. He's not going to make it tonight. Um, Had a fantastic suggestion that I should run over a few things, a few people that have achieved some exceptional results. And because Jake's message just popped up, I'll start with him. I've jotted a few things down. But yeah, Jake had a fantastic open water swim at Napier's multi-sport event weekend. Jess sings how she's here. She's on the top of the list. She won the junior category at the Auckland Half Marathon, and Gareth's joining us. She also won the senior women's at the Otago 10K Championships. Stu sings how he's sitting there right in front of me as well. Had an awesome result at Challenge Wanaka and also smashed his previous bike split, not just at Challenge Wanaka, but at the Lake Canary Triathlon. Jason had an awesome event at the Oxman half Ironman distance, and he also set a personal record for a half marathon in the team in Challenge Wanaka. Andrew, who's not here tonight, he got on the podium at the Coast to Coast age group podium. Speaking of age group podiums, Tanya's qualified for the New Zealand age group team. Fritha won her age group at Iron Māori and also smashed her Ironman 70.3 Taupo goals. Anna had a successful event at Ironman 70.3 in Taupo. Vicky just obliterated her personal goals for the season. Corin successfully completed Ironman 70.3 Ohio. That was her first half Ironman. And Taylor today has successfully ran for 30 minutes non-stop for her first time ever, which is a massive result for her. And Chloe, you can probably join Taylor with that, with you achieving that goal many months ago now, but you built up to that in the same process that Taylor did. So there's some season wrap up for some results. How tonight's going to run, it'll just be a Q&A type situation. I'll go start at the top and go clockwise around my screen as long as Zoom doesn't jumble everyone up. So we'll start with you, Stu.
Haven't really got any questions at the stage, but something will probably come up as other people have got some suggestions.
Yeah, no dramas. Moving on to you, Jason.
Yeah, I think my only question is around what the shift should be in terms of, dare I call it, an off-season and maintenance versus building. Is there a different focus that you put in there, or are we basically building up and then peaking when I find an event?
Yeah, the off season is an opportunity to enhance yourself. It's a good opportunity to put a like in the final months leading into event. We're targeting as specific as we can that event. The off season is a chance to improve general fitness. Now, for endurance athletes, people doing half Ironman distance events, longer gravel racing type events, which and half marathon running, which all seem to be sort of the types of things in your recent history as well as potentially your future, because your future hasn't been determined yet. The key component there is aerobic fitness, efficiency of the heart and lungs. So that's going to be the key focus. Now we can spend all week doing level two rides and runs and swims and everything else. It does get a little bit mundane. It does get a little bit stale. So, and nice drink bottle, by the way. I wonder where you got that from. Challenge Wanaka. They are a good one. I've still got mine and use it as well. Yeah, just doing the same thing day in, day out does get a little bit boring. You'll notice in the velocity sessions, we've toned things back a little bit. There's going to be a bit more technique work coming in the next couple of months. Stu's already screwing his face up at the idea of doing stuff that will make him better. The idea behind that is it's not as intense, it's not full on. You would have noticed sort of December, January, there was a high amount of threshold type work through that period for people like yourself doing Oxman and leading into Challenge Wanaka, Taupo Half Ironman, Coast to Coast. All those events had the ability to push ourselves and work at that threshold intensity was a key component for all of them. Hence the reason why there was an emphasis of that at that stage of the year. This point in the season, backing things off a little bit more focus on the aerobic fitness, a little bit more focus on the technique, and then we'll slowly build and progress through. Similar to last season, a bit of tempo, some VO2 max work included in there. I did a little bit more probably than what I'd normally do for people over the off season last year, just trying to get that high end fitness up. The idea behind that was a rising tide lifts all ships. So if we're looking at your FTP being a percentage of what your maximum capability is, we can lift that maximum capability, your FTP or your functional threshold power is going to increase with that as well. And I think that works successfully. I probably won't put so much of an emphasis on those sessions this off season, but there'll still be a good splattering of them throughout. So for you, for everyone during the off season, things are going to be a little bit more generalized. And as with any build up, we move from very general, move through to specific. That answer cover things off for you. But yeah, working on building and enhancing that aerobic efficiency is going to be key. Once you've made some decisions about which direction and what events you are looking to target, then we can dial things in with a bit more of a structure behind the plan. All right, Gareth, just following around the screen, this is where Zoom have dotted you in. I know you were last here, but yeah, fire away.
Well, I'll just ask a timely question. I'm about to go and run on the treadmill for my 2 hour 50 run tonight, and I am not feeling it. So I want to listen to my body, but I also don't want to miss my workout. So what are your tips for this conundrum I found myself in? Do I get on the treadmill and start running and see
Absolutely.
how I go?
Break it into thirds. So an hour 50, geez, my math's terrible. I'm going to need a calculator for that one. So 110 minutes.
Yeah.
So basically every 35 minutes. Go 40 minutes and then shake things out. Drop it down to a walk for a minute, say, and then do another 35 minutes, another minute walk, and then you've got the final 35 minutes to go. The first 40 minutes is clearly the longest segment of the event or of your run. So breaking it into those thirds is a good way to go. Get that over and done with. You've got that, even though it's only a short walk to look forward to, it's a good way to break things up.
Cool.
You there? Yep.
No, right, I'm not muted, sorry. Yeah, thank you. That answers that question. I'll give it a go and see how it goes.
Perfect. I never envy you doing a long run on a treadmill, so all the best with that.
It's not fun, but it's better than going out at this time.
Yep. All right. Anything else before we move on to Jess? No. Move on to you, Jess.
Okay. I was gonna say with my 10K that's coming up in 2 weeks, I was gonna say what would how would you think I should race it? Like breakdown. Obviously it's different to the track because it's like got a whole range of age groups and it's not
Yep.
controlled environment or anything, and I'm not used to doing the shorter.
Yeah. Run your own race is going to be the key. Similar for the Auckland Half Marathon. Run based on your heart, not your heart rate. Run based on your heart, how you feel. If you're feeling good, push hard. If you're feeling exceptional, push a lot harder and keep that effort on. It's 10Ks. You will be smashing that out in probably, we'll say, under 40 minutes on the road. It's going to be a solid effort for those 40 minutes. Similar to what advice I gave Gareth, break it into thirds. Hold yourself back in that first third, but still run fast. In the second third, run faster. And then in the final third, run fastest. So we're getting faster as we go through. And you've just got that little bit in reserve towards the end by holding back that fraction at the start. If you were to stick roughly to that structure based on how it's feeling internally, then you're going to have a fantastic race. You'll negative split it because the second half will end up being faster than the first half. It's all part of that learning experience. When it comes to the half marathon champs in June, we'll have a bit more of a structured plan and race based on power. But a lot of that power data will come from not just your training, but how the 10K unfolds in Christchurch.
Yeah, I was literally about to enter for the Wellington one because I was also going to ask how, with my training, like how much different will it look after the 10K towards the half marathon?
Similar to what I mentioned to Jason, we'll be getting more and more specific. So your training so far has been generalized around speed for you a lot more than it has been for Jason, because that's what we're trying to get out of you rather than endurance. Yep, half marathon is an endurance event. You can always rely on Jason to throw some spanners in the works. I know he's not getting offended. Yeah, so a half marathon is still an endurance event, but you're trying to run that half marathon fast. So we do need that specific speed, but we also need that endurance. Now, you've got a fantastic endurance built up already. And by virtue of the fact that you just go out and run 26Ks in under 2 hours for your weekend level 2 run, shows how efficient your heart and lungs are at moving you forward at that pace to cover that distance in that time. So with your training, we've been working on that higher end speed leading into the 10K. We'll start targeting that, spend a bit more time at threshold intensity and then tempo intensity, which is that longer, not as fast as threshold, but it's that longer sustained pace, which is basically going to be your race pace come the half marathon. So that's what we're going to be dialing in the last few weeks leading into that.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. With the trainings, like the speed more sessions, do you think it's best to like do it along paths, like on the roads rather than on the track, because it's going to like kind of be more similar?
Yep, absolutely. It's specific to the terrain you're going to be running on. In Wellington, it's around the waterfront and along the road around Oriental Bay out to Shelley Bay and back. So it's all, you're never on any gravel, you're never on anything like that, but hard packed asphalt.
And it's as flat as a pancake.
Yes.
Okay. That's
The
really
only hill you need to worry about, I didn't realize Gareth was still there. The only hill you need to worry about is coming back up into the stadium to the finish line.
okay. Good PB maybe, and it's a good track for it.
Depending on which way the wind is blowing.
Oh, okay, don't tell me that.
Yeah, Wellington is a good place to, actually, it's still my half marathon PB, which, touch wood, you will beat my half marathon PB by the time you get there.
What was your half marathon PB?
122.
Oh, you're pretty quick. You.
But that'll depend on the weather on the day. So if there's a massive southerly blowing or a howling nor'wester, it's not going to be the day to do
you're
that.
probably going to tell me it's worse. Yeah. I was got one more question for the interval sessions. Do you think it's best that I keep just training in my normal like training shoes and just keep my carbon plate shoes for just race day?
In the final month prior to the half marathon champs, maybe once a week, do one of the interval sessions in them.
Yeah.
That way you're familiar with them, and you get used to them.
Hmm.
But yeah, definitely still use them for the 10K in Christchurch.
Yeah. Okay,
Sweet.
that's all my.
No worries. Chloe, round to you.
Kia ora. No, I don't have any questions that I've thought of. I'm just looking forward to training again. I haven't been able to do much
Yep.
really for the past month.
That
So
pathway of
this,
recovery, that's an important one.
yeah,
But you had a couple of good
frustrating.
sessions last week.
Yeah, I just got sick of not doing anything. I wasn't coping very well, so I went out a bit, and then this week, I should be fine to just get back on track and go hard again. So I'm looking forward to that.
Awesome. Firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
Perfect. Background to you, Stu. Has anything popped up?
You're just wondering what advice you'd give to, because I've got a ride in Christchurch coming up, and I don't think the person that's riding with me is fully committed to it. So what advice would you give me to motivate them for the hills that we're about to ride?
Oh, I think the person you're referring to might have a bit more of an inkling towards gravel. So I suggest that an alternative route that doesn't involve hills and maybe stick to some gravel for them.
Means taking the wrong bike to Christchurch and it's flat.
I'll take both bikes and do a ride each day.
Well, then coach can't ride if we don't take two bikes.
Coach ain't riding anyway.
But no, in all seriousness, I think, jokes aside, as far as the mixed stuff and that, I think with the coaching that I got leading into Wanaka, I certainly wouldn't have been able to pull something off the internet and GCN stuff and try and get to where I was. So without the planning and stuff, whilst I might not have followed it 100%, certainly did a major job. And if Chloe wants to step up and be a part of the Qwik Kiwi team for next year, it was certainly a good experience in Wanaka. It's a good party if you go down a couple of days before, as Jason can attest to. And cheers for everything you did.
Yeah, no problems, mate. You're the one that got on your bike each morning or each evening, depending on the session that you were doing. What was that, Jason?
Or both.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, he doesn't need reminding about that particular day.
I can't help it that I'm highly competitive. And when people want to give me crap online that I haven't won in the points game, I just tell people velocity is all zeros and ones, as Jess will find out when she's playing that game.
Yeah. We'll let Gareth count the zeros and ones. Any other questions from anyone else popped up? Jason.
Just in terms of multi-disciplines, how much detriment I think that's the word I'll go with, does sort of one have on the other? Like if you move primarily to a cycling focus, how much is it going to affect your running and swimming and that sort of thing? I know they're all in balance, but realistically at the moment in terms of off season, I'm not doing a whole shed load of swimming, but that's another story. But in terms of if I got more cycling centric, how much of a draw will that have on the running versus vice versa?
Yeah, so the short answer is training for those longer events, the aerobic efficiency is the key thing. And whether you're training that aerobic efficiency through kayaking, through swimming, through cycling, through running, it's still getting trained. When we start getting close to the event, the specificity is what becomes very important. So off-season has been traditionally a good time to include other disciplines. Pure cyclists would include cross-country skiing, particularly in the 80s and 90s. That was a big thing for cyclists. Greg LeMond and a lot of Europeans were very open about what they did around that sort of cross training, for lack of a better term. Triathletes were also growing or triathlons were growing in popularity at that time as well. And so that cross training effect, you'd get the likes of young upstart triathletes like Lance Armstrong transitioning into a single discipline sport, and then discovering the pharmaceutical support available within that sport. And that's enough on that subject. But there was that crossover and blending between the disciplines and activities. So the off season, particularly pre or post season, but leading into the off season, was a good chance to include those other disciplines. When you transition from a multi-sport athlete to a single sport athlete, you don't need to ditch all the other sports, but cutting back on them. And Jess is an example of that. She came to me as a triathlete and then has transitioned and focused on actually, Jess started as a swimmer before becoming a triathlete, and then is transitioning into becoming a pure runner. But we still keep some swimming. Great recovery aspect. And we also include some cycling. Cycling's a good way for her to increase her training volume, particularly as a young athlete, without increasing the impact of doing lots of miles on her legs. So we can get another 3-4 hours of conditioning each week without having the impact of sending Jess out for another 4 hours of running. So she's getting a lot of those benefits. Even in the final lead up to events, we're still keeping the swimming and the cycling in there for the recovery benefits and the maintenance benefits. For someone like yourself, if you were to transition to a pure gravel racer, as an example, maybe you choose to be a pure runner as well, as another example. We would still keep some running in for you. I know swimming is something you don't necessarily enjoy as much as the other disciplines. So that's something that possibly we could look to just push to the wayside and maybe do a session every couple of weeks or something. Especially if you had an inkling you might come back and do a triathlon in the not too distant future. If you're talking 18 months away, we'd probably drop swimming totally and just focus on the primary discipline with a little bit of structure from the other discipline. If you were looking to do, say, a half marathon and a gravel event, or the cycle leg in a team's triathlon, then we'll probably keep an even balance between running and cycling. That sort of cover that for you?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, good.
Awesome. All right. Anything else sprung to mind for anyone? I think you're still on mute there, Stu, unless you're talking to someone in the background.
I'm all good. Cheers.
No worries. If no one's got anything else, we'll wrap things up. Apologies, I've just noticed that with the sun going down, I've got no light coming in the window from the start of the call. I'm literally just black backlit silhouette, like when the news media are interviewing someone that doesn't want to be their identity revealed. So next call, I'll make sure I've got some front lighting to light things up a little bit better.
You'll be in Europe on the next one.
Not quite that soon. All right. Ka kite anō. Have a fantastic week, team, and I look forward to chatting with you again soon, or riding with you on Velocity on Tuesday morning for those that will be joining that session. Jess is pumped. Don't go copying Jason's moves there, Jess. All right, have a good one, team.
Tuesday.
Ka kite.
Cheers, guys. See ya.